All right, Culinary Club members, Dr. Summers here. We're going to make my take on carbonara. To make this recipe, I have a pound of pasta already in the pot boiling. We're going to need 2 eggs, I would say about 1 inch of bacon. I'm going to measure it by the inch because everyone's slices are different. Mine is kind of a thick cut, so this is 4 slices. We're going to need some grated cheese. I like Pecorino Romano. We're going to need 1 cup of that. And about 3 cloves of garlic. 3 cloves of garlic. Now, the 3 cloves of garlic make this different than traditional carbonara. And, you know, it's a Roman dish. So I think Romans would get pretty angry if you cook it this way, but I like the garlic in it, so I'm going to do it my way. Now, I've already started chopping up my bacon. To chop, we need to make sure we're safe in the kitchen. So what we do is we use something called the claw grip on one hand. And what we do is we press our knife up against that grip. Now, there's a lot of different ways to chop. Some people chop with their tip on the board. Some people chop with their tip up in the air. You notice this knife along the bottom is pretty flat, so it works better with a tip up in the air. And we keep our knife attached to our fingers, and we either chop down and forward or down and back. Either or, whichever works for you. Okay, so we're going to just chop our bacon up. Chop our bacon up, and we're going to put a pan over medium heat. As we chop our bacon up, as we're done chopping our bacon up, we'll just add our bacon to the pan. And this is really going to form the first base of flavor in our pasta. And we'll come back to the rest of the dish. I'll grab another knife, and let's start on the sauce while my bacon's cooking. So I'm just going to move the bacon around the pan. We don't want it sticking. A lot of times what happens if your bacon isn't giving off a lot of fat, the fat is what we want, kind of the grease. What you can do is come over and carefully add just a splash of water. What the splash of water will do is it'll bring the temperature down in the pan, and it will help the fat in the bacon render out. So, while that bacon is rendering its fat, we are going to crack 2 eggs. Crack 2 eggs. And now you should always crack an egg on a flat surface, not on the edge of your bowl. And the reason for that is when you crack it on the bowl, it pushes eggshells up into your egg, which can cause bacteria to get in there. So you give it a good little pop on the edge and break it into your bowl. And now, once you do that, grab a fork or a whisk and just beat that until the yolk and the whites are combined. We don't want any streaks in there. Okay, so once we have that all combined together, what we do is we just add our cheese. Add our cheese to it. So for the lactose intolerant, I'm sorry, this is quite a cheesy recipe. And then we mix this together with our eggs. And you should get kind of a cheesy, eggy paste when you're done. Cheesy, eggy paste. It kind of reminds me of like an uncooked cookie dough. All right. So what do I have here? I have my bacon doing pretty good. My bacon's cooking. Cooking. Now see on the bottom of the pot, I'm getting this brown bit, which is called fond. And this is where a lot of flavor is. So do not be afraid of all this brown stuff on the bottom. All right. So once we get that, I'm going to get this off the heat. Now I have an electric stove, so I can't just turn the heat off. But that will, we're going to get that off the heat a little bit. If you do have an electric stove, you can just turn it off. But once this bacon starts running, we don't want it on the heat anymore. So let me give my pasta a check. So my pasta's coming along. It's not quite done yet. Give it a nice little mix. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my bacon. My bacon looks nice and rendered now, and there's some good fat in the pan. You see there's that good layer of fat. I'm going to get the bacon out of the pan. The bacon's going to kind of be a topping for our pasta at the end. So, I'll take a spoon, and I'll get that bacon out of the pan into a bowl. For this, I like to use a slotted spoon with holes in it, because it'll leave some of the fat in the pan. So I'll take this bacon, get it out of my pan into my bowl, and now I have this pan, which looks like it's got a bunch of burnt bacon bits, you know, burnt baconness on the bottom of it. And that's okay. That's a ton of flavor. Now we get to our garlic. When we peel garlic, you first start by cutting the root end off. Cut the root end off of all 3 pieces. Then take your knife, lay it flat on top of the garlic, blade pointing away from you, and give it a little smush. And the peel should release nice and naturally. Now you don't want to smush too hard, because what happens then is the garlic releases all its oil, and your peel gets stuck to your cutting board. So we give it that, peel our garlic. What we're going to do right now is we're going to make a puree of garlic. And what that lets us do is it lets the garlic kind of disappear into the sauce. So what we do again, we put the knife the same way we used to peel it. Again, blade pointing away from you. What you do is going to hit down and away from you, down and away, to kind of smush the garlic and get it to release some of its oil. Now we want the oil in our puree. Now I don't have very oily garlic, so what I'm going to do is going to add just a touch of olive oil to it. Touch of olive oil, and I'm going to add some salt. Now I use kind of very flaky kosher salt. Now what that lets me do is I can now use the abrasiveness of it to scrape my garlic, and then use my knife to go up and down through it. Collect it, scrape it, up and down through it. All right, and this is how we're going to make a puree of garlic. Alright, and that is pretty good, I'd say, if you could see that. Okay, let me check my pasta again. That's probably just about done. Yep. Alright, so now what we do to finish this off is we take our pan that's still a little hot. I'm going to get it over low heat. I'm going to add my garlic for just a few seconds. Just a few seconds to let it heat through. Because raw garlic is pretty rough. But if we let it heat through just a bit, we'll have a nice garlicky flavor through our sauce. So there's a little bit of bacon fat still left in there, and that's good. I'm going to turn my pasta off. And once you kind of start to hear this sizzle, you know your bacon's going, your garlic's going. Give it a little scrape around. Make sure it's getting cooked. Now it's going to take 30 seconds to get this garlic cooked to the level you want it at. And once you do that, take your pasta with tongs and you just add it to your pan. It's going to be sizzling. You're going to get pasta water in there. You want that. It's going to help get those brown bits off the bottom of the pan, and it's going to help you make a sauce in just a little bit. Okay. So I got all my pasta out of my pot. Just swirl it around. Scrape those brown bits off the bottom of the pan. Get that garlic and everything going. Okay? That pasta water is going to be very helpful. Once we do that, I take my egg and cheese paste. I'm going to get this off the heat. Now, what's important now is to work quickly, because if you know from breakfast, when you add heat to eggs, you get scrambled eggs. We don't want scrambled eggs. So what you're going to do is take a little pasta water, just a little pasta water, while this is still heating up, and start to drizzle it into your eggs. Never stop stirring. What this does, this will loosen your eggs up and also raise their temperature, so they're less likely to scramble once you add it to the heat. This is about half a cup of water I'm trying to add while I'm stirring. And there's the challenge here of stirring with my left hand. We get this going. It'll be hot. It'll loosen it up a little bit. Now you add it right on top of your pasta. And using a spoon or a spatula, get it off the heat and stir it in quickly, working as quickly as you can. Now this heat that's still left in the pasta is going to not only cook your raw eggs, but cook them slow enough where you're not going to scramble them. So what you want at the end is a super creamy sauce. You don't want anything that looks like scrambled eggs. If you did it correctly, it should look something like that. Now, the only thing that makes carbonara better is a whole lot of fresh cracked pepper. A whole lot of fresh cracked pepper. And adding your bacon bits back to your dinner. And that's my version of carbonara. I hope you and your family enjoy it.